Hello and welcome to the Fighting Spirit Podcast. As always, I'm Jason and I'm here to bring you your fight picks for UFC Fight Night, Frankie Edgar versus Korean Zombie in an event taking place in Busan, South Korea. It's going to be a pretty good event, it looks like. We have all the fights crunched, including the debut bout. But before we get into it, I just want to say, as part of housekeeping, if you wish to support the Fighting Spirit Podcast on Patreon, you can get at us in the description box below. You also can feel free to write into the show with my email address down there as well. Leave a YouTube comment, whatever you like. So, on the Patreon, we do give us the bet picks there. I give my overall picks, but on the Patreon, we do give those ones I feel the most confident about. So if you wish to get those, if you wish to support the show, please head on over there and support it at whatever dollar amount makes the most sense for you. All right, let's get into it. Here's the show. All right, so we got to kick things off with our main event, and as I said earlier, that's going to be Korean Zombie versus Frankie Edgar, and this is going to be a really interesting contest. So obviously, we have a late replacement, right? Frankie Edgar is stepping in for Brian Ortega, who, due to an injury, I think he may have torn his ACL, and training leading up to this fight had to pull out, and he'll be out for some time. Very unfortunate for a rising star, wonderful fighter like Brian Ortega, but this does give an opportunity for Frankie Edgar, right? Obviously, we have the change with Volkanovski, so assuming Edgar wins, maybe he wants to stay at 145, or he may continue down to 135, where he was expecting to go. But let's talk about the outcome of this event that I believe is going to happen. I think that Korean Zombie is going to get it done here. So it's just a couple factors, right? Very blatant ones that you guys can obviously see. First off, this thing is taking place in South Korea. That is the home of Korean Zombie, so hometown edge. We cannot overlook it. This is an international card. We have a lot of international fighters, and Korean Zombie obviously going to get a slight nod there, in my belief. The other one is going to be the fact that Frankie Edgar is stepping into this very late. He's a gamer for sure. He could step in and tango with the best of them. But is he going to be able to fight a guy like Korean Zombie? And I don't think he's going to be able to. So even though Frankie Edgar, is a great striker for the class and he's a great wrestler with good takedowns, I think that's going to be a little bit of a problem with Korean Zombie. So Zombie comes forward relentlessly, and Edgar, even though he has pretty good power, 145, I don't think is going to be able to make Korean Zombie pay, and he's going to end up being pushed on the back foot with that relentless walk down pressure. And then let's say that Edgar does want to score a takedown. Well, he's only opening things up for the amazing grappling game of Zombie. So I don't think he's going to mind being taken down, because in the scramble, I believe that Zombie is going to be able to find himself on top. He has the bigger frame. I believe he's stronger than Edgar, and I think he's going to be able to end up on top regardless of who ends up scoring these takedowns. Now, does that mean Edgar couldn't win? No, I don't think he's, at a total loss here, but at 38 years of age, and his record, where he's losing Ortega, losing Holloway, and he has that one win over Cub Swanson, I don't think he's really looking, all that impressive lately. His last real impressive performance, let's be honest, was Yair Rodriguez, and that was back now going on almost 3 years ago. So I think, let's say 2.5, right? That was quite a while ago. Frankie's now 38, like I said earlier, and I don't think he's going to be able to hang with Zombie. Zombie is a phenomenal fighter, right? If he hadn't taken that up elbow against Yair, he was going to win that one, and he'd be on a 3-fight win streak. But despite that crazy loss to Yair, he comes back against Renato Carneiro and knocks him out in the first round very early on, 58 seconds in, something we haven't really seen so much out of Zombie. He is typically a guy that likes to get it done on the ground. When we look over at some of the numbers, a guy can believe that Zombie has a slight advantage here. So let's go ahead and pull some of these up. When we look at things like striking accuracy, defense, output, I'm giving the slight edge here to Zombie. He's getting almost an additional entire strike in every minute, and his accuracy is just as good as Edgar's with just about similar defense. Now, Zombie does get hit a little bit more often, but I think with his relative reach advantage here coming in at 4 inches, he's going to be able to keep Edgar off of him, play a good defensive game, and either keep it on the feet standing with great power shots or get it down to the mat in the submission realm, where I think Zombie also holds an edge. So in the main event, we are picking Korean Zombie to pick up a W. Okay, hold on to your butts here at light heavyweight. We got No Time, Dynamite Hands, Volkan Ozdemir taking on a kind of, I think, under-the-radar guy for a lot of people, Alexander Rakic. This guy from Austria looks every bit the stuff right now. He has great KOs against Jimmy Manuwa and Devin Clark, and I think this is going to be a real test for him, and they're obviously now giving him a push as a European star, and I think he's going to be able to get it done here as a little bit of a preview, right? So Volkan Ozdemir, the guy, obviously, he was on a bit of a slide, losses Dominic Reyes, Anthony Smith, Daniel Cormier. He does come back and picks up a win against Ilir Latifi. Let's face facts. Ilir Latifi is way too undersized, maybe not from a width perspective, but from a height perspective, a reach perspective, a build perspective. He's not going to be able to hang with a guy long, lanky, explosive like Ozdemir. However, what does Rakic have? Long, lanky explosiveness that is basically, I think, unrivaled except for guys like Dominic Reyes at this weight class. This guy's flown underneath the radar a little bit, but he has phenomenal technical striking, and I think he can get it done in more ways than one. He has the head kick KO of Manuwa, he's got the TKO against Devin Clark, and really, what does Ozdemir have, right? He has a fist, and he can put you out with his fist, but he's pretty much one-dimensional otherwise. If he can't connect with you, he's not going to submit you, right? One submission over 16 wins. And we know that his leg kicks, kickboxing game isn't really there, right? He's not as dynamic of a striker. He likes to box, and I think that's going to be exploited by Rakic, who's going to be able to do everything pretty well here. Now, as far as submissions go for him, he has 1 over his 12, so I don't expect this thing to get to the mat. Takedowns aren't really a big factor for these guys. Maybe a little bit of a grinding affair on the cage, but I don't see anybody trying to get it to the mat here, and I think Rakic is going to be able to pick up a win here and honestly KO Ozdemir, who has had a little bit of a rough run of luck recently, barring that win against Latifi. I think he goes back on the losing streak here. I don't think he's the kind of guy that can hang with his top-tier talent, and that's what I think Rakic is. Rakic is on the upswing. He's on a meteoric rise, and he's going to make a statement in Busan and pick up a W. We are picking Alexander Rakic in the co-main. Okay, in the next one here, we're going to have the basically little Korean boy, Superboy Doo Ho Choi, take on Charles Air Jourdain in what should be a pretty interesting fight. So we saw Doo Ho Choi, right? He was looking really good, coming in off his win with Thiago Tavares, and then he runs into Cub Swanson and runs into Jeremy Stephens, and it kind of dismantles his image, right? He's scoring amazing knockouts against low-level UFC fighters. And then he runs into this top-tier talent. The UFC really tests him with Swanson, tests him with Steven. He can't really hang. And, honestly, I don't know where he stands right now. That loss to Stephens was almost a year ago. And before that, he fought with Cub Swanson and took an L back in 2016 in December. So almost 3 years to the day for this one, right? A little bit more. And I'm not sure where he stands, but I don't think Charles Air Jourdain is going to be, honestly, the top-tier talent that's going to be able to beat a guy like Choi. I think this is a fight easily set up for Choi to get a win in South Korea, in his hometown or home country, and make a statement for Korean MMA. I don't think this is a fight designed to test Doo Ho Choi. I think this is one just to put on an event for the fans there. Nothing against Charles Jourdain, but he only has one fight in the UFC, and it was a loss via unanimous decision. He does have pretty good knockout power, but we know that Choi's got a pretty good chin. He does come forward. He's got fists of his own. He's very, very powerful, despite his, diminutive kind of a frame. It's surprising, what kind of power he actually holds behind his hands, and I think that he's going to explode and dunk on Charles Air Jourdain here. There's no real doubt about it in my mind. And I think, honestly, Choi gets it done. So we are picking the Korean Superboy in this contest. In the next one, we're going to have another South Korean fighter in Da Un Jung taking on Mike Slow Rodriguez. And in this one, for me, you might say, okay, this is another fight like Doo Ho Choi, right? We're going with no, we're not. We're not doing that at all. We're taking Mike Rodriguez here. So, we talked about, how I think he was being fed kind of a lesser opponent. I don't think that's Rodriguez. Rodriguez hasn't had the best luck in the UFC thus far, right? Lost to Devin Clark and lost to John Allen Arte, but he trains over at Lausanne's, pretty good gym. And he does have a win in the UFC. He's been under the big lights 3 times, and I think he's going to be able to do it here. Now, you may disagree. You may think that Jung just looks way too explosive right now, seeing that he's had all of these TKOs and submissions coming into the UFC, but he only has 1 fight in the UFC. We know that Mike Rodriguez has a little bit more. He's got I think, a deeper breadth of talent that he's fought. I think his resume is a little bit better, and I think that he'll be able to derail Jung here and create an upset over in Busan. I think that the Lausanne training is going to come in handy here. He's going to get some top quality training from a guy relatively local to me. I'm picking the Lausanne MMA fighter. We are going Mike Slow Rodriguez in this bout. All right, and this next one does kind of pain me to pick it a little bit because we're going to have Jun Young Park taking on Marc-Andre Barrier, or Powerbar. I hate the name Powerbar, but hey, he's the guy, and he's the guy we're going to pick here. So we know that Jun Young Park is a pretty well-balanced MMA fighter, whereas Marc-Andre Barrier is basically a knockout artist that has not really had the best luck yet in the UFC. He has losses, all via decision, mind you. Krzysztof Jotko split and Andrew Sanchez unanimous. And even though, Jun Young Park also took a loss in his UFC debut, I think that losing streak is going to continue for Park, and I think that we're finally going to get something out of Barrier here. Barrier is looking at facing, I think, a UFC cut if he doesn't get a great win here in Korea. I think that he has to overcome the odds. I think he is going to be able to overcome the odds. A guy like Jun Young Park, I think, does throw down a little bit. I think he's willing to step into the pocket and give Barrier a target that he's going to be able to hit and shut the lights out on. We are going with Powerbar in this contest. An Asian Rumble for sure, where we're going to have Mr. Perfect, Kai Young Ho Kang, take on Ping Yuan Liu from China. So we have a South Korean fighter and a Chinese fighter throwing down. We know that Mr. Perfect is a submission specialist. 11 submissions over 16 wins with only 2 knockouts. And Liu coming in a little more balanced. 4 KOs and 5 submissions over his 13 wins. And in this one, I think Ho Kang gets it done. 1, obviously hometown edge. And 2, we know South Koreans don't really care for the mainland Chinese people too much. So I think that guy honestly has a slight edge working against him here in Ping Yuan Liu. Ping is a Team Alpha male product, right? So he does have a little bit of wrestling, some great training in his back pocket for sure, but I honestly like Mr. Perfect here. He's on a nice 2-fight win streak. He, I think, is going to be able to continue that here and make kind of a statement for himself as a great submission artist in the UFC. So I can definitely see Luau taking it to the mat and not getting it done. He's also coming off a loss back in July of 2019, and I think that losing streak is just going to continue here. I don't think he's going to pick it back up. We are picking Mr. Perfect, Kai Young Ho Kang, in this matchup. All right, this just might be the easiest one to call, and unfortunately, everybody knows it because the betting odds are very heavily in Cyril Gane's favor. He's taking on Tanner Boser, the Bulldozer. And, nothing against the Bulldozer. I'm sure he's a good Canadian fighter. He's got a 1 win in the UFC back in October. And I think he's just going to run into a meat grinder here. He trains over at MMA Factory. He trains with the Predator Francis Ngannou. He's another big, giant, strong French fighter or African-descended fighter, and these guys are just tearing it up right now in the UFC. Obviously, you had Jairzo Rozenstruik. Cyril Gane is actually from Paris, though, but obviously he is of African descent. And these guys are just killing it right now. They're physical specimens. They're highly well trained. They're very disciplined. They're very patient. They have all of the elements you want for MMA talent. And I think that Gane is just going to run through the Bulldozer, tear him apart, score an early TKO. He's a balanced fighter, 2 knockouts, 3 submissions over his 5 wins. He's a new talent, young talent, and Boser has seen his share of fights, 17-5 with 8 KOs and 2 submissions, but I don't think he's going to be able to handle the talent level of Gane, even at this young stage of his career. I think Gane is just on an ass-kicking world tour right now. He's had 2 fights in the UFC. He's about to make it 3, and both of those have been via submission. So this guy is dangerous everywhere. He's got the arms to strangle you out. He has a heel hook. He is just an amazing fighter. I love this guy, and I only wish I wish everybody thought Tanner was going to win, because this would be a bet the house situation. I'm serious. Cyril Gane is definitely going to get a win here. If you want to take him on a parlay, go for it. You might be getting a little bit of a Patreon teaser there, but Cyril Gane's the one to take, even if there's not a lot of money to make. I say take him. And I think you'll come out on top with that one. So we are picking Cyril Gane for sure in this contest. In the next one, we have an Australian fighter, Suman Mokhtarian, taking on another South Korean fighter, Sungwoo Choi. And in this one, it is going to be, I think, kind of a stylistic matchup, interesting fight, because we have Mokhtarian, kind of submission specialist. We have Sungwoo Choi coming in as a knockout artist. And I think ultimately Choi is going to get it done here. Both these fighters are coming off of losses. Obviously, Mokhtarian was knocked out by Sudek Yusuf, but who doesn't get knocked out by that guy these days? And then with Choi, he has losses to Gavin Tucker and Mosvar Ivalov. But I think he's going to get back to his winning ways here. I think that he's going to be able to potentially pick up another knockout against a guy like Mokhtarian, and I believe he's going to be able to have, maybe even a little bit of edge, add the hometown going into a decision if that's the way it goes out. I think he's going to be able to outstrike Mokhtarian based on the numbers. So if he doesn't knock him out, I think the output's going to be there, and Sungwoo Choi is going to be the winner in this contest. So we are picking Sungwoo Choi in this bout. All right, in our next matchup, I don't have too much to say about this one because it is a debuting bout. We're going to have Dong Hung Ma taking on Omar Antonio Morales Ferreira. And in this one, I am taking Ferreira. He's an 8-0 fighter making his UFC debut. He's training over at Hard Knocks 365, which is the gym where our 170-pound champion trains at. That's where Kamaru Usman trains, and he's going up against Dong Hung Ma. Nothing against Dong Hung Ma, but he has 2 losses in the UFC, and I think this is a nice setup fight for an undefeated fighter coming out of a spectacular gym to honestly get a little bit of a gift here. I think that Omar is going to be able to get it done here. I think that he's going to be able to knock out or submit Dong Hung Ma. I don't believe this is going to make it to a decision. Ma has 4 KO losses and 2 submission losses, 16 wins, 10 losses. He's not the greatest talent in the world, and I think he's probably not long for the UFC, honestly, due to his current record. We'll see how things play out. It is a debuting bout after all, so take it with a grain of salt. Also, Omar is 34 years of age, so he's a little old to be making his UFC debut, but he's training at a good gym. He's, I'm pretty sure ready to make a statement. He probably realizes he only has so much time. So if he wants to, get that payday and, get some win bonuses, he's going to have to get it done early and often. So Omar Antonio Morales Ferreira is our pick. All right, I got to say it because the man burned me last time, but don't burn me again. Alexandre Pantoja, the cannibal, is going to be taking on Matt Danger Schnell in what should be an interesting contest at flyweight. So these guys, it's flyweight. It's a weird kind of division, honestly. So I'm not really sure what to think of it, but we got 2 high-end talents coming from 2 high-end gyms. So we got Nove Junio, where, the King of Rio, Jose Aldo, trains at, and we got an American top tier in Danger Schnell. So talent pool, honestly, for these guys, top tier. We know that Figueiredo derailed Pantoja via unanimous decision. Before that, the cannibal Pantoja was looking great. Wins over Sasaki, Wilson Reese, Brandon Moreno, the baby assassin, right? He just picked up a win over Kai Kara France. I thought, Pantoja was on a run here, maybe to fight Devison Figueiredo. But, we look over at Schnell. He's not looking like any slouch either. 2 submission wins against Luis Smolka and Jordan Espinosa. 2 great talents as well, and riding a 4-fight winning streak. So this one is very hard for me to call. But I think, honestly, the output of Pantoja is going to be able to, get it done here. I like his hands a little bit better. He obviously has the 7 KOs over 21 wins, which is hard to do at flyweight. And we know that Schnell doesn't really have too much power in his hands, and these guys obviously can both grapple, so I don't think Schnell has an edge there. I'm going with the cannibal Pantoja. Don't burn me again, please. Dear God. I don't know about dear God, but please don't burn me in this one. We are picking the cannibal Pantoja in this bout. In what should be a very, very good fight, we are going to have Saeed Nurmagomedov, a Dagestani wrestler. I don't believe he's directly related to Khabib or anything, but a Dagestani wrestler, going up against Raoni Barcelos, a Brazilian fighter. Both fighters are near equal with their records, right? 13-1 for Magomed and 14-1 with Barcelos. Now, the finish rate is much better on Barcelos. He only has 4 decision victories, whereas Magomed Sharipov, that's a B. Nurmagomedov, Saeed, right? He has 7 decisions, and he's not likely, I think, to pick up a closure here to this, but I think that he can honestly get it done. He's got a good win over Ricardo Ramos, right? Great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter. He gets him with the spinning back kick and punches, TKOs him out. And Honey, he's also a very good fighter. He's got the submission game. He's got the KOs. This one's right down the middle. This is honestly one that is probably a little too close to call. But I got to go with slight edge here to Nurmagomedov. I think he's just a little bit better everywhere. Maybe he doesn't have the striking aggression, but he has a 7 decision wins over his record, so he can push it to go to all 15 minutes. It may not be exciting, but he can ride you and grind you and get there, even if it's not fun to watch. And so I am going to go with Said in this one, even though I think if you like a guy who shuts the door fight IQ, you got to go to Barcelos. I'm not going to do that, though. I'm going to go with Said. He's the pick. All right, in this next contest, it's kind of a tough one to call. I'm just going to throw it out there. It's a very late replacement. We're going to have Miranda Granger and Amanda Lemos. I can't remember who was originally supposed to fight in this one. You can obviously go out and look it up, but it's another late replacement. I think it's as of 2 or 3 days ago at this point, so take it with very much grain of salt. But I'm going to go with the undefeated fighter here. I'm going to go with Miranda Granger. She looks like a very good submission-based talent. Obviously, Amanda has great knockouts, but I think that the submission talent of Granger is going to be able to get it done here. She only has the 1 fight in the UFC, so there's not a whole lot of information on her, but we saw what happened when Amanda got under the lights. She picked up a loss and was knocked out in the second round against Leslie Smith. I don't think she's going to be able to perform again under the big lights, and I think that Granger's going to have her time to shine, so I am going to pick Miranda Granger in that matchup. And then in the last one here, we are going to have Heli Alatang take on Ryan Benoit in what should be a pretty good contest. And this one, I am going to go with the Canadian fighter Benoit. He trains at a Muay Thai camp. He has great knockouts, and I think it's going to be a little too much for the Chinese Heli or Alatang to take on. I think that the leg kicks are going to be there. I think that the spinning back fist, the Thai clinch work is going to be there, and he's going to be able to dismantle a fighter like Alatang, who is a very well-rounded MMA fighter for sure, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it. We'll see how it honestly plays out, but in that one, I am picking Ryan Babyface Benoit in that matchup. So to round things out, let's go over them one more time. We got Zombie, Rakic, Choi, Rodriguez, Barrier, Hokang, Gain, Choi, again, Sungwoo Choi, Pantoja, Nurmagomedov, Granger, Benoit, and then the debut, Omar Morales. So I was looking over the betting odds in this earlier. A lot of these guys, I think almost all of them are favorites. It's just the way the picks worked out. There were a couple differences on the metric, but these are the ones that won overall, and so I feel halfway decent about them. It's an international card, though, so as I always say, please take all of them with a grain of salt. We don't have the best information. Look what we had last week. Three fights of the title, a lot of data, right? Obviously, heavy on the stats, and we get 3 great wins. In fact, we even robbed the one, I think, with the Jose Aldo fight, right? So we looked great. We could have went 5-5 in that top card where data was plentiful. Data is less plentiful. It makes these picks a little bit harder, and so, just understand that if you do go out on a limb. I'm going to give the one that I think is the best or the ones that I think are the best on the Patreon, but all of them should be taken on a grain of salt. I always want to throw that out there if it's international. And one thing I want to throw out there is that this is the last time I'm going to talk to you for a little while. I'm going to get a beer or spirit review, but we're not going to be talking MMA for a while now. So we have this fight on the 21st, and then we don't come back until January 18th. So we got a pretty substantial layoff there, and that's going to be the McGregor Cowboy card. Granted, things do pretty much get back to normal at that point, but it's going to be one heck of a layoff. So obviously, everybody have a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Kwanzaa, Happy Kwanzaa, however that one is stated. Happy New Year, and everything else from me to you. If you're still listening to this at this point and you really enjoy the show, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. This show is something we are coming up on a year, I think, in it's going to be February. So I'm just going to pull up some numbers here just so I can, get an idea of how much, listenership we've had, at least for the podcast itself, just so I can give you guys that piece of information. The YouTube show does pretty well. We had some of our best amount of views in the last contest, that UFC 245 card, and it was trending really nicely. And obviously we had the Khabib card; those are our biggest ones. But for the podcast, the main thing, we've done really well this year. It says, according to Shout Engine, who hosts the show, we've had 1,684 downloads so far this year, and that's 1,684 more than I ever thought I would have honestly had. If you've gone out and you found the show, I just really want to thank you. I hope you made some money along the way. I hope you laughed at me along the way. I hope that I've entertained you along the way. I hope that you keep listening, and I'll just keep on providing the show, and that's all I really care about. If you anything else, I got the Patreon out there, but that's all just for you to donate and support if you really like what I'm doing. And so I just want to again thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for supporting the show, for listening, for downloading, and for making things kind of fun. So yeah, just Happy New Year. I'm looking forward to another 2020. Hopefully keep growing the show. I promised myself I'd do this for, 2 to 3 years to see if we get some traction. We're coming up in the year 2. I'm feeling good about it. Hopefully we can double these numbers, keep it going, get more people to listen in, and just kind of grow kind of a community for the show. There's podcasts I listen to, and there's so many people that have a great community around them, or YouTubers, and I would love to have that exact same thing, to be perfectly honest, just because I really love that level of interaction, and honestly, call me on my shit sometimes. I know I get these wrong, and that's fun too for me. Maybe not fun for you sometimes, but fun for me always. Anyways, I'm rambling here, obviously, yeah, I will be back with a retrospective. And then we'll have kind of a layoff with some liquor reviews and some beer reviews thrown in. So it's not like you'll be without me for too long. But this is going to be the last Fight Pick show of the decade of 2019, however you want to say it. And I just want to thank you again. All right, though, until I speak with you again on the retrospective, happy fight picking.